Greetings, everyone. I think you all will find this very interesting. This is from libertytothecaptives.net. And by no means am I an expert, but pay attention to the links between and similarities between Terry Schiavo's death, Lisa McPherson, and Whitney Mills as well. And God knows how many unnamed women that have suffered the same fate in Scientology. Now, I have not found any evidence to show that Terry Schiavo was a Scientologist, and I believe her parents disputed this. But if anybody with more wherewithal and information than I have, if you guys could go down that rabbit hole and find out if Terry Schiavo in fact was a Scientologist, it will change everything. We do know that her husband, Michael, was a Scientologist, because this is simply a question. I don't know, I wasn't there. But could it have been, is it possible that Terry Schiavo suffered the injuries that she had while being audited or receiving an ethics handling? I don't know. I wasn't there. I have no proof of this. But it's just a question. They're just questions. Pat Anderson and her role in the Lisa McPherson case. Pat Anderson, attorney for Robert and Mary Schindler, is well acquainted with Scientology and their trademark litigation practices. Miss Anderson had a central role in the high-profile Lisa McPherson case. Lisa, a Scientologist, became severely dehydrated and died of thromboembolism, blood clot, of her left pulmonary artery while being held against her will at Scientology headquarters, the Fort Harrison Hotel. Her first cause of death was severe dehydration and malnutrition. It's on the record. Pat Anderson held the key position of representing the person who would ultimately make or break the prosecution's case against Scientology, Dr. Joan Wood. Note, Pat Anderson emailed me on July 24th, 2004, the day after this article was published to the internet, to inform me of her involvement with Dr. Wood. At the time I represented Dr. Wood, there was no Lisa McPherson case. Before the prosecutor filed any charges, the church decided to take a proactive stand and make a public records demand for the physical evidence in Dr. Wood's possession relating to McPherson's death. Dr. Wood refused to give them the public evidence. The church filed a public records lawsuit against her, seeking a court order requiring her to turn over the evidence. I defended her in that lawsuit. Dr. Wood won. The case ended. That is the sum total of my connection to the McPherson affair. If you guys have some time, go and look into what all happened to Dr. Joan Wood. I believe her first name's Joan. Response. Even though Miss Anderson was not directly involved with the prosecution's case against Scientology, she did represent Dr. Joan Wood against Scientology in a crucial preliminary case. Scientology, who claimed that Dr. Wood lied about the evidence regarding the autopsy, sued Dr. Wood for the records. Miss Anderson said Dr. Wood won, but Scientology was quite happy with the records that were released. Scientology attorney Morris Weinberg called it a total vindication. Can't help but think of the Diddy lawyers. It is a total vindication for not only the church's position, but for all those members of the public that will now get the true facts. Scientology can see some, not all, evidence. Weinberg's use of the word vindication suggests that Scientology got what they needed to plan their strategy against Dr. Wood. Wasn't Rinder still in Scientology then? Anyone know? Circuit Judge Bob Barker ruled that the church, as well as the public, is entitled to drafts and notes taken during the autopsy. The autopsy report, lab reports that document McPherson's hydration, the length of her unconsciousness, the cause of death, the cause of blood clotting, the appearance and cause of the insect bites. I'm just guessing, you guys. I think they're bedbug bites. Photographs of the bites, material pertaining to consistency of chronic process, photocopies of certain slides, and certain lab reports regarding physical specimens. Scientology can see some, not all, evidence. Long before Bernie McCabe filed felony charges against them, Scientology was aware of Dr. Wood's findings. They had plenty of time to develop a plan to fair game, threaten and intimidate, in other words, Dr. Wood into the changing the cause of death from undetermined to accidental, which in turn prompted Bernie McCabe to drop the charges altogether. This case, in which Scientology was charged with the abuse and or neglect of a disabled adult and the illegal practice of medicine, did have a favorable outcome for Scientology due to Dr. Joan Wood's decision to change the report, to change the cause of death on the autopsy report. Isn't that illegal to threaten a medical coroner? Can anybody refresh my memory? Isn't that illegal? Under pressure from experts hired by the Church of Scientology, don't you guys love their names? Wood quietly amended her autopsy report on February 16th. The manner of McPherson's death was changed from undetermined to accident. Wood also removed one cause of death, bed rest and severe dehydration. We all know that that's what she died from. Because they were giving her, the introspection rundown, even though she was psychotic. And added a new significant condition, psychosis and history of auto accident. Do you guys know what they did to Dr. Joan Wood? It was really bad, you guys. It was really bad. And I don't think that Dr. Wood lived for that much longer. Just go look it up, please. Quote source, a cry for justice. We can hope, right? Bernie McCabe used Dr. Wood's reversal as an excuse to drop all charges against Scientology. Is Bernie McCabe a DA? I have to look it up. Hold on, guys. Yes, you guys, unfortunately, I found out that McCabe, hold on. Boy, my heart just dropped when I read that. So, Bernie McCabe was a state attorney. So that's all he needed to just, drop the charges. It's just so disheartening, So disheartening. Pat Anderson began representing the Schindlers in Terry's guardianship case the following year, shortly before Terry's feeding was stopped the first time. Miss Anderson calls the completely irregular, illegal way Terry's case has been handled The rule of Terry's case, she is not unaware of Scientology's control of this case. Wesley J. Smith quoted Pat as saying, "If following a legal procedure will likely result in Terry dying, it will be adhered to. But if a procedure could make that outcome more difficult to attain, it will not be followed." The rule of Terry's case strikes again. The problem with this statement is that legal procedures will not result in the death of Terry Schiavo. That is why the Scientology-run Circuit Court 6 has been using illegal procedures and an illegal judge all these years. I gotta click on this. Oh, we can just look it up online to see which judge he or she was referring to. Pat Anderson has been involved in 2 high-profile Scientology cases involving dehydration. Does anyone else know if Whitney Mills was dehydrated as well? The Lisa McPherson case and the Terry Schindler Schiavo case. Lisa McPherson and Terry Schiavo, same crimes. While Scientology's role was overt in the Lisa McPherson case and partially covert in the Terry Schiavo case, the main criminal issues are the same: abuse and or neglect of a disabled adult, practice of medicine without a license, dehydration, not to mention false imprisonment, which apparently across the world nobody knows what that means. It is no coincidence that the same crimes for which Scientology was indicted in the Lisa McPherson case, abuse and neglect of a disabled adult, and the illegal practice of medicine, are being repeated against Terry Schindler Schiavo. Judge Greer permits Michael Schiavo, maybe there's our answer, to abuse and neglect Terry, as well as practice medicine without a license. It is Michael Schiavo, not Terry's doctor, who makes all the decisions regarding her medical care. It is Michael, not a medical doctor, who has practiced outlaw medicine and denied Terry antibiotics, dental care, gynecological care, physical, occupational, recreational, and speech therapy, social interaction, fresh air, etc. I just want to add as well, it's documented that there were several doctors that documented that Terry Schiavo was alert and making eye contact, and which would have qualified for a desire to live. You know, like, anyways, they all break it down. And this was dated July 23rd, 2004. Isn't it ironic, you guys? How many years later is that? 2004. 21 years later, and we're still saying the same things. I'm going to go ahead and tag Manning 8 on this one. Okay, you guys, I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.